Hello, hello, and welcome, welcome. Today we have Romiko with us. Romiko is joining us, and he is a weight loss coach. He's a weight loss coach. He is on today to talk to us about how to lose fat and how to build muscle and how to lose weight, but weight loss while maintaining your muscle, right? Weight loss while maintaining muscle. So, Romiko, I found you on social media. I saw you on Facebook. First, I think I saw you on Facebook,
Mhm.
and I would always see you, and you would hold these signs up, and I just thought this was before my weight journey, and I would say, all I got to do is follow those signs. And and I thought it was so helpful. Sometimes I would even jot things down. And then I saw you on Instagram here recently, but I said I have to get him on here to talk about all things weight loss. And let me say, you look very, very good. So you are a great representation of what you talk about. So
Thank
if
you.
you could just tell us, you're welcome. If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get involved in the health and wellness arena? How did that come about?
Got it. Well, thank you so much for inviting me over. I appreciate that. The ways in which I started the weight loss journey, let's take a backstory. 22 years old, 23 years old, just a guy. But I had a natural proclivity for some whatever reason. You can call it God's, I don't know, sending or God's message, but natural proclivity towards nutrition early on, 22, 23 years old. For whatever reason, I had a feeling that nutrition, specifically the ways in which you ate, dictated body transformation, right, alongside with strength training. So I had a natural proclivity towards that. At around 22, 23 years old, I've never been, I was always fortunate enough to have the genetic makeup of my father, who's slim, very athletic, 6 feet built, just athletic frame. So I've never really struggled with losing weight, but I did want to put on weight, put on muscle as guys do in in that age. And so I started reading, did my little research of reading blogs and articles and about nutrition, about eating habits and things of that nature. And I started slowly but surely started seeing my body transform. Before I had a bit of abs, but as I got more and more serious on my nutrition journey, on my not weight loss journey, on my strength training journey, I started to really see abs and I started to see muscle. And at 22, 23 years old, you're looking in the mirror like, what the heck? Like, okay, I see what's going on here. And so to surmise that, that's pretty much how I really started the journey early on. But the biggest take on that would be I had a natural proclivity for whatever reason towards I liked nutrition and I liked fitness early on, and I've always been I came from an athletic background, soccer, volleyball, football, basketball, so that came natural to me. But yeah, that's how I got started.
Oh, that's great. So tell us, what is the best way to lose fat while you're gaining muscle at the same time? Because I think a lot of times we think it's a separate thing.
That's a good point. How to lose fat while building muscle. So the losing fat component comes specifically from the nutritional aspect of it. So that's when you go from having a beer gut to having abs. That's the nutritional component. The gaining muscle part component comes from lifting weight. So that goes from having flabby arms as a woman to tone arms, for example, like Angela Bassett sort of thing. Or, yeah, she's like, well, in her 60s or something, she still looks fantastic. It's because she's having those two points connected. Her nutrition is on point, and her ability to go to the gym and actually lift weight is on point. And the ways in which I can break it down if you want me to, from a practical standpoint, to help some of your listeners.
Yes.
You want me to do that?
Yes.
Practically speaking, so I think the one of the reasons why people resonate, some people yourself included, I believe, one man's subjective opinion as to why you resonate with my content is that it's very easy to follow. It's very structural based and it's very applicable, meaning you come in, I explain it, and then that's it. You implement it, and there's a lot, and I'm not being egotistical here, what I'm about to say. I have a lot of testimonials, and it's on my Instagram. Instagram handle is exactly my name, where there's a bunch of people who literally just follow. You don't even have to be in my coaching service at all. Who just follow the videos, and they've lost 20 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds just following the steps. And so the nutrition and component on how you go about doing that would be step number you start your day. So let's be practical here, guys. You start your day, you go to the grocery store, and now you're looking at the food aisle and you're trying to figure out exactly, okay, what should I be eating? That's the common question if you're trying to lose weight. What exactly should I be eating? I, as your coach today, I am coaching you guys, would be there's a few things you have to categorize on your list of foods. So we go healthy protein. So for example, we go fish, we go chicken breast, right? The next category, we go into vegetables. We have our spinach and our broccoli, for example. The next category, we go to healthy fats. So we have all almonds, for example, avocado. And then the final category, we go to fruits. So we have our berries and we have our bananas, for example. And so essentially, the first step into that would be you have to categorize your list of foods and you have to figure out where those foods are hitting which category box. And so again, the category box are protein, healthy carbs, vegetables, healthy fats, and fruits. And so once you've done that grocery shopping list, you've bought your items, it's freaking expensive. I apologize, inflation, but it is what it is, right? And so once that's done, you go in at home. The next step, next frame of mind is how do I go about preparing this meal? I'm not a chef, but what I do know is that there's three components in which you want to prep your meal into to again sort of mitigate the amount of calories that you're eating. And essentially, for those of you who don't understand, overall calories dictate whether you gain weight or you lose weight. And so we can talk about that a bit. And so, but once you bought your foods, you go into the kitchen and you're trying to figure out ways in which to prep this food. Number one, you either want to prep your food roasted, for example, roasted chicken. You want to prep your food baked, for example, baked chicken, or you want to prep your food grilled, for example, grilled chicken. And the reason why you want to do that is because those three things, the way in which you prep that has far fewer calories. So you're mitigating the amount of calories that are coming into your body. You're mitigating the risk of you gaining weight by prepping your foods like that. That's number two. Alongside with number two, the other part is now you're trying to figure out, okay, so if I'm prepping my food baked, roasted, or grilled, next obvious questions would be, okay, what about the herbs and spices and what about the oil that's going in there? I would say to you and your audience, herbs and spices, don't worry about that. There's practically 0 calories in the herbs and spices that you're adding into your meals when you're prepping for it. So add as much of it as possible. You're fine. Where you're going to sort of want to pay attention, which are these hidden calories that can oftentimes make it difficult for us to lose weight, is the amount of oil we put into our meals, the amount of oil we prep with our foods. And the ways in which you want to do about that is you want to limit that, in my personal opinion, that's worked with my clients, that's worked with people that have seen my videos, it's to limit your oil quantity to 1 or 2 tablespoons. I don't know exactly, as far as I know for now, I would recommend picking the oil that you're used to, you're most comfortable with. I'm sure there are nutritional nerds who will be like, pick virgin oil, pick this oil, pick that oil. I'm not in that camp yet, as I'm still learning about the science behind nutrition. I'm an avid learner, but I would say just beginner friendly, relax, right? Whatever oil you have in your house right now, whether it's olive oil, whether it's coconut oil, the oil that you use to prep your foods with, limit that to 1 to 2 tablespoons. So that's 1 and 2. That's 2 steps so far. That's taken about like 11 minutes. So that's 2 steps so far. Uh, 2 steps so far and then number 3, the third step, which is equally as important. Now we're trying to figure out. So let's do a quick recap. You come into the grocery store, you have your categories of foods that you're going to pick from. You then go into the kitchen, you have the foods that you're going to pick from and how you're going to prep it, right? Baked, grilled, or roasted. And then you go into the herbs and spices. Don't worry about that because there's practically 0 calories. And then you go to the oil you're going to put in your food, 1 or 2 tablespoons. And now in step number 3 is, how do I portion all that I made for the week? And that's where the interesting part comes in. And so what you should be doing is, I generally recommend buying I think it's a 500 milliliter Tupperware or a 30-ounce Tupperware, where you're going to it'll force you to portion your foods. You're putting in your proteins in there, you're putting in your vegetables in there, you're putting in your healthy carbs in there, you're putting in your healthy fats in there. And on the side, you have another small Tupperware where you have your fruit on the side, right? And where we can get a bit more nuanced is in that small bowl or medium-sized bowl for you ladies and gentlemen. Um, you want to make sure that you're prioritizing proteins and vegetables. What does that look like? That means that the majority of your food in that bowl should be proteins and vegetables, and then a little bit of carbs in there, whether that's rice, and a little bit of fat in there, whether that's avocado. Because what protein and vegetables does, it's the protein is great at keeping you full, and the vegetable, because of the amount of fiber that you're getting in there, acts similar to protein. And that's important because, again, that mitigates your risk of wanting junk food. That mitigates your risk of wanting to eat extra food, of wanting to eat, going to the vending machine because you're hungry. And one of the reasons why you're hungry is because you're not eating enough protein to begin with. You're not eating enough vegetables to begin with. And so that's pretty much it in a 3-step nutshell on how you can lose weight from a nutritional perspective. Let me answer the muscle building part. It's as important. And I want to bring as much value to the audience, not from a philosophical standpoint, but the best thing that we as coaches, as anyone who is, and including yourself, is that we need to try our very best to give actual value, which is what you're doing, and which is what I'm trying to do at this point. Practical steps that someone can look at this video, implement, and say, hey, it works. You know what I mean? And so let me piggyback. So I just briefly spoke to you about the nutritional component, the muscle building component in terms of you gaining muscle. As someone who's brand new, whether you're brand new or not, or whether you're an advanced workout person, I personally recommend lifting 3 days a week. 1 upper body day, 1 lower body day, and 1 full body day. 3 days a week, 45 minutes to an hour is more than enough. I'm talking about actually lifting weights, not these workouts of like 15, 20 repetition. I'm talking about 8 to 12 reps of, let's say you're at 10 pounds, you can only do 10 pounds of bicep curls. And then the next week, go up to 15 pounds. And then the week after that, maybe go up to 20 pounds. Just, ebb and flow and see what works for you. But I'm talking about actually lifting weights. But in a nutshell, that's how you go about, from a nutritional perspective, losing the fat, and from muscle building perspective in terms of lifting weights to build muscle.
Well, the message I got there is that nutrition is super important. Like that's probably the start, right? The nutrition.
90%.
So would my protein bars fit into that?
Your protein bar, it depends. That's a really good question. Yes, your protein bars can fit into it. How much protein is in your protein bar? Because there's certain protein bars that constitute as high protein, but you're only getting 10 grams of protein, but 30 grams of sugar.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I wish I had a protein bar to actually read it to you.
It's
But
okay.
20 grams of protein, and a lot of them say that it's sugar, but it's not like a natural sugar. A lot of them have sugar substitutes. I'm sure that's not probably the best that you should be eating, but is that better than not eating protein at all? So if I didn't have the chicken or the fish or the turkey to grab, is the next or beans or anything high in protein, can that be the next best thing, or should I opt to eat fruit instead?
No, that definitely can be the best. That's the best next thing because again, protein is essential at keeping you full. I rather you opt in for a 20-gram protein bar that irregardless of what the sugar amount is, and I know people are going to be like, what sugars? I know, like relax. But the main point is that I rather you eat the protein bar because again, it's going to help with satiety. Your ability to stay full mitigates so much more in terms of your inability to choose poor food choices. It makes it harder for you to snack on certain things. So if you were to ask me, yeah, I I don't find anything wrong with a protein bar. Uh, it gets now nuanced in terms of exactly what protein bar you're getting. The higher the protein amount, generally speaking, the less sugar it has. And so, but if the taste isn't your problem, a protein bar is a great alternative.
Okay, okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. So let me ask you about intermittent fasting. So, that's a huge deal now. You hear about it a lot. I would say some doctors are promoting it, some weight loss gurus are promoting it. So, where do you stand on intermittent fasting? And do you encourage your clients to do that?
um, it's funny, when people say intermittent fasting, if you think about it, fasting is technically when you're not eating and you don't eat all the time. And so the question now is how often should you fast before your next meal? Um, and my take on that is meet the client at what they're at, where they're at. Uh, would someone need to be fasting in order to lose weight? Yes, technically speaking, because we don't eat every hour by the hour. Now, individualize and contextualize that statement and utilize that based on each individual. So, for example, if you were to come to me, I would ask you, "Mm, how's your eating schedule? How is your overall schedule in general?" You would tell me X, Y, and Z. And then I would say, is there at any point in there, do you see yourself fasting? You would be like, yeah, I don't usually like eating breakfast, by the way. Breakfast is not the most important meal of the day for me. I don't like it. I would be like, okay, then that's a perfect opportunity. How about we fast from breakfast in the morning until lunchtime? And then the next question is, what time is lunch? You're like 12 o'clock. Okay, what time do you wake up? I wake up at around 8 a.m. Okay, perfect. Do you think you can fast from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m.? Yeah, okay. In between that, how about is coffee or tea okay with you? Yeah, I don't mind that. It's not bad with a bit of creamer here and there to kind of hold you down for a bit. Yes. And so this basic example, basic scenario, again, it's contextual to the individual need of the person. Do I believe in intermittent fasting? Yes, because technically we all fast at some point. You need to be fasting in order to lose weight. Is there a way you can interject intermittent fasting to someone's lifestyle, someone's busy schedule? Yes, there is. Do you need to talk about it with that individual? Yes, you should. How do you go about doing? How would you go about doing that? Well, it's based on each individual. That's my take on this.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So what do you think are the biggest mistakes people make when trying to get fit?
uh, People don't have structure. This is why we coaches exist. I wouldn't be getting paid if everyone had a structure on how to go about doing this. It's no one has structure. Not no one. People have a difficult time finding structure. That makes sense, right? If you're not into health and wellness, I don't expect you to develop structure. It's no different why I let an accountant do my accounting. You know what I mean? If you're not passionate about it, it's not something that you're going to really dig deep and think about. And so therefore, when your food is just food to you, the quality of the food, you're not really thinking about it. And it's not really your fault. Um, you start where the problem starts coming in is when you start gaining excess amount of weight. You're like, wait a minute, I never. And this is why people often are like, they tell themselves, all of a sudden, I just saw myself in the mirror and I'm like this. But that's a culmination of just bad, poor habits over the years. You don't gain weight overnight like that. It takes time, right? And
Mhm.
so I went on a rant. So please ask me that question one more time.
No, you're fine. I said, what is the biggest mistake people make when trying to get fit? And you had a great answer. You said they don't have structure.
Yeah, lack of structure and I want to be careful with this. Lack of structure and lack of execution. Um, so it's no different than if you're trying to open up a business. You can read as many business books as you can. If you aren't executing, being a practitioner in that thing, being a practitioner in your craft, nothing will happen. So me and you can sit here and we can have a bunch of YouTube channels on and on about weight loss, and I can give you tips from here to the moon. And if you're not taking these tips and implementing it in your day-to-day strategy, that's where the execution comes in. It's not going to work. And so the reason, again, to the point I made earlier, the reason why I'm able to have a job as a coach is because people lack the structure, and it's not their fault, right? They're not into health and wellness like that. They want someone to come in to help them get that structure. So, and then the other part is they're not executing on that structure. And so lack of structure and lack of execution is what people often have a difficult time with.
Yeah, I would agree with that for myself and if no one else. So how often should you work out? I think you mentioned three times that you said 3 times a week for 45 minutes to an hour. You should do the strength training. Do you promote cardio at all? Do you think cardio has a place in building muscle?
100%. Cardio. I wouldn't say cardio doesn't have a place specifically in terms of building muscle. Cardio has a place in terms of just cardiovascular health, right? Um, Cardio has a place in terms of helping you speed up the process of you losing weight. This is where things like getting your steps in starts being extremely important. This is why you often hear get at least 5,000 steps a day, get at least 10,000 steps a day. Movement throughout the day helps. All of that is part of cardio. Now the question is, what again? It's extremely important. You have to individualize each question based on the client's needs. You have to individualize each question based on where the person is at in their lifestyle. If you have a busy individual, a busy entrepreneur, right? You can't expect that person and tell him, oh, make sure to get 10,000 steps. The man is trying to run his business. The woman is trying to run his business, right? But can you certain movement in between? Can you give me 30 minutes, right, before your next meeting for a walk? Yes, I can. Can you give me at least 2 days a week to do lifting weights? Yes, I can. And then the other 90%, 95% will focus on nutrition. My 22, 23 years of trying to get myself inclinated with nutrition, I said that the most important thing is nutrition. Nutrition will transform your body. Building muscle, lifting weights, that's where you're going to see the arm, the tone arms, the abs and things like that. It's very important that people understand that there is no black and white sort of thing. It's not this or that. It's more of how, here's my lifestyle, here's my schedule. How can I implement good habits to fit that? So
Okay.
if I'm able to get 5,000 steps a day for cardio, great. If I'm able to get 10,000 steps a day for cardio, great. Do I like to walk as my part of cardio? If that's the if that answer is yes, go for a walk. Do I want to kickbox as a part of my cardio? If that answer is yes, do kickboxing. Do I want to go for a walk with my kids and go for a walk with my dog? Can that be part of my cardio? Yes. So essentially the cardio component is you implement that or you try to find that in your day to day. But in order for the person to adhere to that cardio, it has to be a cardio that makes sense for them. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, yes. So if you were coaching someone and you gave them this workout plan that you have, you said the 1 day arms, the 1 day legs, the 1 day full body. And if that's something that they said, I can't manage that, or I can't manage the 45 minutes to an hour, I can manage 30. Is that okay? And they work their way up to that. We find, I know, I realize we find time to do things we want to do, right? But how do you work with somebody that has time restrictions or believe they have time restrictions at first?
By catering the workout to their time restriction. So it's
Okay.
simple. Yeah, it's really that simple. I'm not someone who's going to be going back and forth with a client of mine who says I only have 30 minutes. But I'm like, no, but you should have 45 minutes. You should have an hour. I'm like, get out of here. Like, that's not attractive at all. It's not an attractive quality. Again, uh, you have to meet the person at where they're at. If someone is only has 30 minutes of their time, I will make sure to uh, what does that look like? So on a 1 hour workout schedule, instead of giving you 8 exercises, which would total up to that 45 minutes or an hour, I would give you 4 exercises, right? But in those 4 exercises, let's go practically speaking, instead of, I'm getting too excited here. Let me wind back. So we have, yeah, we have 40, if you have 45 minutes to work out, I'm giving you 8 exercises, 8 total exercises. Those eight total exercises will match the output, meaning will match the 45 minutes of your workout. The repetition amount of reps, right, could be between 8 to 12. The amount of sets could be between 3 to 4. That set count and the amount of rest could be between 1 to 3 minutes. And so bear with me here. That set count, that rep count, that rest time period, and that total exercise I gave you amounts to 45 minutes to an hour, right? That's on the back end. I'm the one who knows that to be true. I send it to you, you just do it. And then you're like, oh, yeah, this actually lasts for an hour because I did the math behind that. How do I structure that same exercise? This is the question. How do I structure this same exercise to meet the individual needs of someone who only has 30 minutes? And so now bear with me. You subtract the total amount of exercise from 8, maybe to 4. You go to the amount of reps, right? Which is AKA for the intensity you're going to give to the workout. Instead of to 12 repetition, I will increase the repetition from 8 to 12, for example, maybe to 12 to 15. I will go on next, decrease the amount of sets from 3 to 4, maybe to 2 to 3. And then finally, the amount of rest time that you have for each exercise, instead of it being between 1 to 3 minutes, I might have it only at 1 minute. All of that, same exercise, you're just tweaking certain aspects to make sure that you're fitting it within the person's scheduling needs. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yes, that makes sense. All right, thank you. So,
You're welcome.
so can you build muscle without lifting weights? Because I was doing some strength training when I first started because I didn't want to injure my knee. And I was so worried because I felt like I had so much weight to be moving around. So can you build muscle though with your own body weight?
You can initially, if you're essentially when your muscle starts to atrophy, you can build muscle without having to go to the gym in the initial stage. Specifically, what the stage number is, I don't know. But I do know that in order for your muscles to be built, stress needs to be placed on it. And so if you're someone who's never worked out before, ever in your life, you can definitely build muscle by just doing your own body weight because you're putting stress on that body because you've never stressed that body to begin with. Where things start getting interesting is you will find out very quickly that, oh, this is starting to become easy. Essentially, what your body is telling you is, I need to get more stress. And so to get more stress, you would need to go to the gym. This is why when you're at the gym, if you pay very close attention, you don't only have one weight class. There's 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 80 pounds, 100 pounds. This is because certain individuals need higher amounts of stress in order to build more muscle. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. That's a good explanation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So this is a question for me, and I'm sure a lot of people have this question. How does sleep affect weight loss and muscle growth?
That's a great question. And I'm not, I don't, the one thing I pride myself in is not talking about things I don't know. And I don't like to talk. Um, but what I would say, the very little thing that I do know about sleep is that when you're consistently getting poor sleep, you're essentially stressing your body, right? When you stress your body, it releases a hormone called cortisol. And what cortisol does is it mimics another hormone known as aldosterone. And aldosterone helps regulate the fluid balance between potassium and sodium. And so when you have high amounts of cortisol in your body, essentially what you're doing is you're attracting more sodium. And so when you're producing more, I should say produce more, when you're producing more sodium in your body, you're attracting more water. How does that practically look? So that means when you're retaining, it's called water retention. When you're retaining a lot of water, when you step on the scale goes up and you freak out, right? It's one of the reasons why if you women know this best, when you're going on your cycle, you're bloated. That plays a aldosterone, that plays a role in cortisol, that plays a role in water retention, that plays a role when you step on the scale. Boom, you go up a few pounds. You're like, oh, this thing doesn't work. You know, Coach Miko said vegetables and da 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 da. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm up 5 pounds. It's like, no, you're up 5 pounds because you haven't gotten enough sleep, and you haven't gotten enough sleep consistently because you're stressing your body out a lot, and when you're inducing so much stress, you're releasing so much cortisol. When you're releasing this much cortisol, you're producing so much sodium. When you're producing so much sodium, your body starts to hold on to so much water. When your body starts to hold on to so much water, you're bloated. When you step on the scale doesn't move. So that's one way in which sleep can prevent you from losing weight. The other way, which I started to read about, is that it affects our appetite palate. What that means is on when you're consistently not getting enough sleep, so there's two hormones in our body that dictates our appetite, ghrelin and leptin. What ghrelin does is it tells your body when you're hungry. What leptin does, the hormone, is it tells your body when you're full. When you're getting poor sleep consistently, you start making poor food decisions. and you start craving. This is why I said there's a change in appetite palette. You start craving for more, for higher processed carbs, but it varies from individuals to individuals. This is what you start liking: the chips, you want the candy, you want the ice cream. And one of those reasons is because you're consistently getting poor sleep. It's affecting your appetite. And so not only is it affecting your appetite palette in the sense that you're craving for sugary foods and salty foods, it also increases your appetite, meaning you want more foods than you're accustomed to. And I'm going to get a little bit sciencey here, but bear with me. So all these processed carbs that you're eating, right, because of the consistent poor sleep that you've gotten, these what these high processed carbs have is fructose, and that's not good. You don't want to be eating a bunch of fructose, because what fructose does in your body is it prevents the hormone leptin from activating. And so what that means is when leptin is, again, if you remember, leptin lets us know when we're full. It tells you, okay, we're done eating, we're good. But if leptin is being suppressed by the amount of fructose that you're eating, which is derived from the amount of high processed carbs that you're eating, the signal that is supposed to be sent to the brain to tell your body to stop eating, that signal gets interrupted. And so if that signal is being interrupted, when you're eating your French toast, your pancakes, your burgers, you can see why you can often overeat on those foods, because there's a disruption in the hormone leptin. So your brain is no longer getting that signal to tell you to stop eating. And so that's another way in which lack of sleep can cause you to not lose weight. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Yeah.
Nerdy, I apologize.
No, it makes me realize I need to get more sleep because I think that's
Yeah,
been
it's
one of my
important.
struggles. Yeah, operating on very little sleep.
I'm so sorry to cut you off, but this is so important. It's an insightful thing. I wouldn't even say insightful, but it's very important for the audience to know. You can be doing everything right. And to their point, people are doing everything right, but lack of sleep and one of my clients, because we're talking about the importance of how sleep can prevent you from losing weight. I have an anecdotal story, very brief. Give me 1 minute of your time. One of my clients, literally 2 weeks ago, her weight was stalling, and we were on our usual coaching calls, weekly calls. And as we're talking, I come to find out that her workload demand has increased. So what does that mean? Meaning her stress level has increased as well. Next thing you know, I'm only getting 4 hours of sleep a night consistently for 2 weeks. It's been going on consistently for 2 weeks. Her weight completely stalled. When she stepped in the store, nothing moved. When she was checking her waist measurements, nothing moved. And so as we do, we talked about different ways in which how we can help her sleep pattern. We talked about different ways in how we can reduce her stress. Literally, yeah, last week we go back in our coaching call and she's down 3 pounds. So this isn't informational thing for the sake of information. It's like, no, sleep, guys, and stress plays a big role in your inability to lose weight, irregardless whether you're eating right or exercising right frequently. It's that important.
Wow. Wow. Well, that's good. Sometimes you just need to hear it again.
Hmm.
So yeah, I need to schedule that into my schedule, and I've done better because I set a goal for myself. I had been doing really well, and I find myself falling off. So I'm gonna gotta get back on that bandwagon. Let me ask you: you meet a person and their diet is way off base. You said you meet people where they are. So what would be the first thing you would have them swap out? I know you went through the list of nutrition and the first step and the second step and the third step. But what would be like the first thing? Because sometimes you meet people and they can't do multitask and do everything. They're just at that time they might not be capable of that. So if you only could tell them to swap out one thing, what would it be? The most important thing to start?
And that needs to be nuanced. As you said, that's a tough question to answer too. It's a good question. One thing, but one thing they would need to swap out. So we know that nutrition plays about 95% role in your ability.
95. You think it's a
95.
95? 95. Okay, because I always thought and heard 80/20. I've heard people saying even 75/25, 85/15, but you say 95/5.
To me, it's one of the most important things. Uh, and that's biased too because I have a natural proclivity towards nutrition. So take that with some grain. Um, if there is one thing that someone should swap, I would say buy a small size bowl, either a 30-ounce Tupperware or I think a 500 milliliter Tupperware. Why is this important? Because in order for you to actually lose weight, most people are not going to go out of their way to count their calories using tracking app. I know that to be true because I've coached a few people that no one's doing that. It's annoying, it's tedious. And so the, the next best thing in order to mitigate that, again, the whole concept of this from a nutritional perspective is you're trying to mitigate as many calories that you're putting in your body because total calories dictate whether you gain weight or you lose weight, right? Hence, being in a calorie deficit equals weight loss. Being in a calorie surplus equals weight gain. And so the best thing that someone can do, if it was just one, buy a small size bowl because that will force you to portion control your meals. And when you're forced to portion control your meals, you're way less likely, say, to eat more calories. And so if you're way less likely to eat less calories, you're you're setting yourself up for success in terms of actually seeing the results that you want, which is weight loss.
I could totally see that. So portion control, you gotta get that portion
Mhm.
control going.
If there's one thing,
Okay. So how do you stay motivated though when the progress is slow? What advice would you give to your clients? What advice would you give to me?
you have no choice.
No choice.
You have no
That's all
choice.
you
Well,
say,
yeah, I'd say it's a little bit more nuanced than that, but sometimes, yeah, I like to joke, and I like to, and I always say meet the clients at where they're at, and it sounds all nice, but there are some point in time where you need to be very at in order to see results, right? And so to answer your question, more to be quite frank, motivation is a starting point. Discipline is the finish line. I really want people to understand that. Like, I think I just hit it. That was a nice quote. By the way.
know.
It's true. Motivation is how you get started. Discipline is how you finish. Like, I'm not motivated, and to be quite frank, I don't like going to. I know this sounds contra-intuitive or it's a contradiction here, but I personally don't like going to the gym either. If it was up to me, I promise you, my dear, if it was up to me, I would just love playing basketball, playing sports, and eating whatever I want to eat. Your ambition needs to match out the output of what your daily actions are. Do you get what I'm saying? If
Yes.
you're so ambitious about wanting to lose 40 pounds and you want abs and a toned legs and toned arms and you want to look like Angela Bassett at 60 something, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. It's not going to be nice to say, but you have to put in the work. You have to put in the work. Motivation is a starting point. Discipline is how you finish. Like, it's just bottom line. And where things get interesting now is how do you go about doing that? It's now we go back to the structure. You might need structure. You might need certain tweaks here and there to fit your lifestyle. But at the end of the day, my friend mentioned before, the two main things that people struggle with as they're coming into fitness, it's structure and lack of. You can be motivated all you want, my friend, but if you're not able to execute on the structure that you've implemented for yourself, that a coach has implemented for you, it's not not doing like it's not going to amount to anything. That's what I have to say.
I agree. I agree. So you use the word structure. What comes up for me is routine, like having a
100%.
routine in place, and a structure. When you structure someone's schedule and their day to day, it's basically their routine. And I'm sure as a coach, if you saw somebody in their routine, because you asked me, what are you eating? So that tells you kind of, where my mindset is, what I'm trying to do, if I'm preparing my meals, if I'm not, how many calories I'm eating. So you can learn a lot by a person's routine and then trying to
Mhm.
restructure that. Because basically, that's what you probably are doing as a coach. You're restructuring the lack of structure, I would say.
If someone is, I usually the first thing that I look at after speaking with the clients is I ask them is, how does your kitchen look? And I get a what? What do you mean? How does my kitchen look? Yeah, because what you have in your kitchen is going to tell me a lot about what we need to unstructure. To your point, is there a bunch of groceries in there, bunch of sausages in there, bunch of chips in there, bunch of soda in there. So we have to unstructure that, as I personally call it. You have to declutter. No different than going to a mental decluttering. You have to declutter your kitchen in order for us to start this new routine. If if you're unable to do that from the get, we're going to have a very difficult time. I'm going to have a very difficult time convincing you that you can lose 30 pounds in X amount of months. Sure, we're not able to unstructure to begin with, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes. I would agree with that too. So, what's one piece of advice you give someone starting on a fitness or a weight loss journey?
It's a good question. I always like talking in steps for some reason. So I guess this is what I do in
You're
my
so
videos. It's gonna be like
structured. You're
step number
structured.
one, it's a structure. I was like step number one, do this, step number two. The
People learn
ways
really
and
well that way. It's spelled out. This is the first thing I do, second thing I do, third. People do well with steps.
the first thing I would do, let's take it routine. That sounds so philosophical. How does that practically look? That means if you're trying to lose weight, look in your house, look in your cabinet, look in your fridge, and remove everything and anything that you feel like is quote unquote not your best options. The ice cream, that's step number one. You have to declutter your house. You have to declutter your house. You have to get rid of the pizza. You have to get rid of the ice cream. You have to get rid of the chips. Step number two, you have to then bring in healthy food options in there. It goes back to where I mentioned when you're at the grocery store, the healthy carbs, fats, protein, vegetables. Swap, so it's a swap analysis to your point. You have to swap those chips and those sodas for water, for vegetables, for protein. So that's step number one. You have to declutter your house. Step number two, you have to find a way, as someone who's brand new to fitness, find a way to get between 5,000 to 10,000 steps a day. Movement is a big deal. You have to hack that, however that may be, right? Step number three, most people want to lose weight, but most people want to look good doing that. And so you need to go to the gym. It could be as little as going to the gym 2 days a week for only 30 minutes. It could be as much as going to the gym 4 days a week for an hour. You have to find everyone. If I always say this, if I was to really look in your life, I can audit 30 minutes out of your day for you to hit the gym. I promise you. And the gym doesn't necessarily mean you have to physically go to the gym. It could literally mean being at home and doing a bunch of dumbbell exercises. Being at home, to your point, doing a bunch of body weight exercises. You need to be able to express your body physically and mentally. So that's step number three. Step number four. you would need to portion your meals on a day-to-day basis. So whether you're eating 2 to 3 times a day, I would portion that again to, as I mentioned, a 30-ounce container or a 500 milliliter Tupperware. Prioritize your proteins in there, prioritize your vegetables in there, and then bring in your healthy carbs, and then bring in your healthy fats. And on the side, have your fruits. So that's step, I think, what are we? Step number 4, right? And then finally, step number 5. This is going to be a little bit maybe off cue. You have to be grateful. And I know this sounds a little bit fluffed up, but it's true. Like, you have to be grateful for. I'm a man of faith, so you have to be grateful for what you have, right? You have to be grateful for the people that love you. You have to be grateful for the people that you're around, you know. And the reason why I say you have to be grateful is because perspective is a big deal. There are people outside of your world that would trade places with you at any day. And again, I know this is off cue. It's like we're talking about weight loss. Why are you talking about gratitude? To me, I think that gratitude plays a pivotal role, right? Just from a mental and emotional perspective, keeping yourself grounded, keeping yourself grateful in the midst in your journey of you trying to lose weight is paramount. That's just my personal opinion. And I think that the more grateful you are, the more, you're willing to try your very best to become the best version of yourself. And I always say this, you're losing weight for yourself. You're not losing weight for your partner. You're not losing weight for outside validation. Because if you're doing that, you're not going to last very long. Like, I didn't go from 22 to 31 trying to get abs, trying to get nutritional knowledge because I was doing it for outside validation. I didn't do it because I wanted to get abs to do it for girls. I promise you. And people are like, yeah, yeah. I just didn't. And so you have to go and introspectively look, self-diagnose yourself, and go internal because that's the punchline. That's the main thing. Out of all of this, all of these steps, all of these tips that I mentioned, if you're not doing it for you, like it's completely pointless. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. So, are you familiar with GLP-1 medications like Ozempic and Mounjaro? And have any of your clients ever taken that medication?
I am familiar with it in passing. Do I know the depth of it exactly? No, I do not. Do I have a client who used to take it? Don't quote me on this, but I believe so. I believe she used to take it. Now the question is, was she taking it while I was her coach? No, I don't believe so. I don't remember. I don't remember that being the case. What I do know, what I can say from my personal opinion is, do certain people need Ozempic if you're someone who is extremely overweight, like 400, 500 pounds, extremely obese, to help you kickstart your weight loss journey? 100%. Do I believe it'll be equally to your benefit if you mix that in with proper nutritional habits and workout habits? 100%. Do I also equally believe, being a rational individual, that losing 10 pounds and saying I need to be on Ozempic is a good idea? No, I do not.
Okay. Okay. All right. A lot of what you say, and I'm sure in the media it's not portrayed that way, but in the GLP-1 community that I'm a part of, we do talk about all those things. We talk about nutrition. We talk about eating that protein, getting that protein, and we talk about building muscle, strength training. I think it's gotten such a bad rep because the fast weight loss. You hear about losing weight so fast and people not eating and having side effects. And if you're doing it with the lifestyle changes, for a lot of us, we're not having those side effects. I don't really have those severe side effects at all. But it's a tool, right? It does help with the portion control. That's what makes it easier to not eat because I don't have the desire. Some people who can lose 50, 100 pounds and do it without a tool or support, they can mentally and actually physically not eat. But somebody like me who had such a difficult time with that, I needed that tool to help me. I'm developing these lifestyle changes so that when I'm off the medication eventually, and hopefully I will be off of the medication. People say once you're on it, you're always on it. But I think just like with everything else, research comes out, things change, people learn, and hopefully over time, I may not need to be on it. I'm open to either way. But I do think incorporating these lifestyle changes is important no matter which route you go, whether you go the medication route or not. Because at some point, we know with any medication, your body gets used to it and it stops working. And that's when these lifestyle changes that you talked about they're here there to support you and kind of guide you on your way. So that's the way,
Hmm.
you know, I'm hoping to go. So I'm glad you got that message out about nutrition being like the main part of it. So somebody that like you that's in the fitness, even you say that. And I think a lot of times people don't realize that.
You're 100% right. And with, with social media being at the forefront on everyone's phone, what you're saying is people aren't talking enough. I shouldn't say that. It's not a fair statement. W- uh, What I'm trying to say is it would be nice if more people spoke about nutrition just from an everyday person perspective. Just your
Hmm.
normal mom, your normal dad, your normal busy mom, your normal busy wife, just normal. And I think at least what one man's perspective is there's too much talking, not even talking. There's too much showboating around crazy workouts and these elaborate stuff that you need to do in order for you to lose weight. And I always say to people, and I think often resonate with my message. It's simply it's about the structure and it's about the execution. And to your point, this is why, and you laughed earlier. You were like, "Huh, he makes it sound so simple," because it really is that simple. And I think the reason why you made that statement, one man's perspective, I think it's because you don't hear it enough. It's not mainstream enough. Because if it was, I don't think I would get that same reaction. And so when you have people who are just talking everyday language, step one, step two, step three, you're like, huh, yeah, this resonates. I can really do this. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, I do. But I think the hard part is you maintaining it over time, right? Maintain it over time because at first we're all motivated. You're seeing those results, and then weight loss slows down. And I think, I was so afraid to lift weights because I thought I don't want to get bulky. With the misconception that, my little 3, 5, and 8 pounds is not going to make me really bulky. But that's what because I'll speak for myself because I was so misinformed, and so now I'm realizing that I do what I can and as soon as I get comfortable with that, I add a little bit more. When I'm getting
Hmm.
comfortable with this, I add a little bit more. And so I'm embracing that. But I think that it just takes you seeing it and hearing it over and over and over. It's never too much, right? Because you think like, oh, those little simplistic steps. Well, sometimes you need to hear it. And maybe I heard it in December when I wasn't ready, and I heard it again in
Hmm.
February. Now I'm ready. You know what I mean? So I love how you say you have to meet people where they are at, and I think that's true for whatever you're trying to pursue in your life. So tell us about your social media. So you're on Facebook and Instagram, and if you're somewhere else, I don't know, but tell us about it so we can
um,
find
uh,
you.
appreciate that. So Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So the my social media handle is exactly as my name. It's very unique. Maybe that's why probably those social media people allowed me to do that. So thank you guys for that. And the message across all these social media channels, it's the exact same thing. My I have when you're passionate about something, you do it because you want to help other people. You don't do it because you are trying to grab money from people. The message behind these channels is, I promise you, if you are to implement the videos that I've mentioned, and they are as basic as I've talked about in on this video call, step one, step two, that's literally how I talk. Because what I've come to realize is a lot of people don't know about these things. And so what I perceive as basic, these are brand new information that can be quote unquote life changing to other people. And so, like everything in life, you try to just make things as easily digestible and as easily consumable as possible. Hence, you also have to make it very practical. And so, the practicality is where people will see the results. And that's what I try to do in all my channels. Advocate the simplicity of nutrition, advocate the daily problems based on each person. You know, your problems might be different than other people's problems, but I try to navigate around that, and it's very solution oriented, right? Again, if you were to go to my channel, Instagram, Facebook, there's a bunch of testimonials of people saying, I've watched this video and I've lost 20 pounds. I've watched this video and I've lost 50 pounds. The lady just lost 40 pounds recently. 40 pounds just watching the
Wow.
video. And and that's because in these videos, I am giving you the structure. All you have to do is on
Execute.
it. The hard part, I think the hard part is finding the structure. That's why it's difficult. This is why there's people are going around different social media handles, different YouTube channels. They're essentially what they're saying is, I want to lose weight, but I don't know how to do it, and I need a structure on how to go about doing that. That's where I come in. All you have to do is extract that structure, implement that in your lifestyle, and you see results.
And there it is. Yes, and we do complicate it. It reminds me of like cooking. When you tell somebody like what your best dish is, people don't want to hear baked chicken. They want to hear lasagna, this casserole, this whole spread. And so I think even with food, we've added so many ways to make it, dress it up, make it taste good. We do all these fancy things. And when it comes down to it, it's just back to the basics, right? And
Always.
I think we've gotten so far away from the basics. I know I had. That's why I got all this weight. I'm just trying all kind of recipes and doing all kind of things when really I just need to keep it simple. So that is the message here today. If you're on that weight loss journey, you're trying to get on a fitness journey, start out small. Build yourself up, but focus on that nutrition, right? Focus on the nutrition. Should you add the weights right away, or if you're focusing on nutrition, are you doing them both at the same time?
I would
Okay,
definitely
so you
recommend doing those both at the same time. Yes.
okay, so you're doing them at the same time, and you're just
Hmm.
kind of going at your pace and making it work. And I think what happens is people do a little bit and see results, and that motivates them to do a lot. And then that structure and
Hmm.
discipline is going to carry you to the finish line. If that's not
100%.
working for everybody else, that's what's going to work for me. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today and just sharing your knowledge. And goodness gracious, I feel like I learned so much, even though I've already checked out your videos. So you said you're on YouTube. I haven't seen you on YouTube. What's your YouTube channel? Romiko's also?
Yeah, that should be my YouTube. Yep. I said that should be my YouTube. It's my YouTube
Okay.
channel.
Yeah, because that's where I'm at. I'm mostly on YouTube. But so we'll be talking though. We'll keep in touch and maybe you can come
100%.
back. So I think I need to lose 42 pounds. I'm gonna do it. This has motivated me to pick up my pace a little bit. So
Can I say
um,
one thing?
yes.
Uh, you are such an important part in just people's everyday life. This is a good thing about social media is when you have a message that you're passionate about or you have a journey that you're undertaking, is you're going to find your people alongside it. You're going to find people who are in that same boat who might not necessarily comment on it, but they're watching you every day. And no different than me speaking about nutrition and fitness, you're doing it in your own way that's gravitating and captivating an audience. And I grateful. Back to my last 5 step gratitude. Very grateful for you to have me on, and I would be delighted to come back and help anyone that I can. That's why I'm here. I think that in a nutshell, that's what it. When I mentioned that at 22 and 23 years old, I had a natural proclivity towards nutrition and fitness. Now, I'm not kidding when I said I think that's God's message, because when I say it comes natural to me, I'm not talking about natural from the standpoint of the knowledge base. I'm talking about natural from the standpoint of passion. Because when you're passionate about something, then you're going to strive for knowledge. And the knowledge that you're striving for, it doesn't come at a cost. It's not something that, oh my God, do I have to do this? No, it's something that I naturally do it. Does that make sense?
That
And so
does.
thank
And
you.
yes, I say that about my YouTube channel. I'm a full-time mom, a single mom, have a full-time job, and I'm also juggling this YouTube and just with my family and friends. And so it's a joy for me to come here. If it wasn't, and I definitely wouldn't do it, definitely don't have to do it. So, and just helping people, that I love that you added that gratitude in there because I think that's what has motivated me to do even more on YouTube and not just make my one video a week. I'm going live. I like to talk to people. I like to interact with
Love it.
people. And I like to celebrate people because I do realize a lot of people don't have people in their corner. That's why coaches are great. A lot of people don't have someone in their corner rooting them on, telling them they can do it, encouraging them. And so I'm getting motivated from people too, but that, helps me to help other people and just being someone's cheerleader. I love the idea of that. I love that I've been able to do that. And so I'm just looking forward to continue to motivate people. So I'm doing it in a different way than you are, but we're both doing kind of the same thing, right? We're kind of the same thing. So I appreciate you. I will see you again. This is not it. And thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
learned a lot. Okay.